Hello and welcome to Baron's Game Room. I'm Aaron as always, and I'm not really sure what to do this month, so I'm just kind of winging it. Today I'm actually talking about my very first print and play game, which I think it's available online. I probably should have done some research for starting this video. Anyway, today I'm talking about the Nemesis TL version. Nemesis is a very large game, very obviously based on the Alien franchise that even has a sequel game and a third game coming out with several expansions. It features some highly detailed miniatures on these really large boards, and it can take quite a while to play. Now, I know there are some mechanics in Nemesis that people who have played the game have a really big problem with, but I personally really love Nemesis. But it's such a big game, I don't really have a good time to sit down and do a video for it. I could maybe fit a review in one video and a how to play in another video, or maybe even two. But anyways, that's where this comes in. When I backed the first Nemesis on Kickstarter, I was given access to this little print and play game called Nemesis TL version. Again, I remember getting access to it during that time. I don't necessarily remember if it was exclusively through the Kickstarter or if you could maybe go to their website and download it there. But anyway, I'm going to talk about it. I guess you could say this game's sort of a hidden role game or maybe hidden item game. Super simple setup. All you got to do is shuffle up the cards and then place them face down the table. It doesn't matter how you put them face down the table, just face down. Straight line, put them in some kind of grid. You can scatter them all over the place. It really doesn't matter. Starting with the last player to watch a romantic comedy, all you do on your turn is pick up a card and read it to yourself. There are only 10 cards used in the game, and 8 of them are unique with a few extras of this one. Each of these cards has their own various rules and actions and sometimes win conditions on them. So each turn you're just picking up a card, reading it to yourself, and deciding whether you want to keep it, whether you even can keep it, whether you have to keep the card, and then checking to see if maybe you win or if you want to perform an action given to you by the card you just picked up or the card you already have. And then after you've either done your action or possibly done nothing, you can just put your card back face down and kind of keep going. Let's start with the gun card. As long as you are not contaminated or have any eggs, you can keep this card. You are now considered a soldier, and it protects you from the contamination card, as well as if you end up finding the intruder card, you win. Speaking of the intruder, if you have the gun, when you find this card, you win. If you are contaminated, you can play the intruder card on another player. If that player has the gun, you lose, but if they don't have the gun, then you win. We keep mentioning contamination, so let's talk about it. Contamination, you must keep this card if you're not the soldier. From now on, you're contaminated. If you draw a gun, put it back, it does not affect you. And if you collect 2 eggs, you've won. Let's talk about those eggs we keep mentioning. You can keep this card as long as you're not a soldier. If you are a soldier, you can choose to destroy the egg as long as you reveal that you have the gun. And then you get to remove the egg from the game, making it harder for the contaminated player to end up winning by eggs. This one's kind of a silly one, the rope. You can keep this card if you're not contaminated. At any point, you can attempt to draw another player into a game-related conversation. If the other player answers with more than 2 full sentences, you may show the rope. If this player is contaminated, you've won. If not, you lose. I think it's supposed to basically portray you sussing out who the contaminated players are, so like finding out who's the thing in that movie. Now let's talk about spacesuit. By the way, all this like roughed up, that's just part of the card. That's how they look. At least I'm pretty sure that's how they always looked. You can keep this card in general. You can remove this card at the start of any of your turns to have a spacewalk, which means check 2 cards instead of 1. If you don't win the turn you've used this card, you lose. So you can use this at any point to kind of like help guarantee that you get a win if you think you know where a couple things are, or that last thing you need is. Next we have the escape pod. You can throw the oxygen tank at another player, which just means remove this card. There's not like a card called oxygen tank. You just throw this card out of the game. If he has a gun, he loses. If not, you lose. And last but not least, we have alarm. You can make a loud alarm sound, shuffle together all the cards on the table, including this one, and put them back in random order. Alternatively, if you're not a soldier and you're not contaminated, You may decide to guess where the escape pod is. If you are correct, you've won. If not, you lose. And that's every card in the game. Like I said, the gameplay is simply picking up one card off the table and then deciding whether or not you want to keep the card or put it back. Otherwise, you have to use actions based on the card that you picked up or already have, and usually involves revealing that you have those so your players know you're not just saying that you've got the gun and you're destroying an egg. They gotta know you actually have the gun. Anyway, wow, I can't believe I've already done 5 minutes for this silly little game. Anyway, review time. I think it's a fun little game. I don't have anything really to hate on it about it. It can be a little confusing at first. You really have to make sure every player reads those cards, because otherwise they're not really going to know what's going on. So everyone needs to be very familiar with the cards you're playing with, how many there are, yada yada. So in that aspect, it's kind of inaccessible, just because you have to, again, make sure every player, but it's only 2 to 3 players anyways, reads the cards so everyone knows what's happening. But other than that, insanely simple. Most anyone can play it. Probably not little kids, because I'm sure they might get a little confused about, I don't know, the strategy of which card to keep or what they're looking for. But it also does kind of tell you, so I don't know, maybe anyone can play it. It's easy to carry around your pocket. It's, fast little game to throw at the table and fun. I've taken it out to eat several times with us. If you can find it online, I recommend downloading it. It's a good little time. Oh, and quick clarification, in 3-player games, it's possible to have 2 winners, because if any player loses, the game's just over. It's not like the other 2 players keep playing till one of them is the winner. If a player wins, they win. If a player loses, then the other player or players win. So you might have 2 winners in a game. Assuming you can still find the game online, it's completely free. It's only 10 cards, so it's very little effort to print the game out. Yeah, totally, guys. Fair and approved.